The scream that split the mountain silence was so raw, so filled with terror, that it made even the wolves pause in their hunting. Asher Lockhart had been tracking elk through the high country near Montezuma, Colorado when he heard it. The year was 1879, and he'd been living in these mountains for near 5 years now, ever since he had left civilization behind. His broad shoulders tensed beneath his buckskin jacket as another scream echoed through the pines. Without hesitation, he turned his horse toward the sound, his powerful legs urging the animal into a gallop despite the treacherous terrain. The September afternoon was fading fast, and up here at 10,000 feet, darkness came quickly and cold. Asher's long dark hair whipped behind him as he rode, his sharp eyes scanning the forest. He was a big man, muscular from years of surviving in the wilderness, his arms thick with strength from splitting wood and hauling game. His jaw was strong, covered with a few days of dark stubble, and his hands were calloused and capable. He found her in a small clearing, pressed against a boulder with her arms wrapped around her knees. She was young, maybe 20 or so, with auburn hair that had come loose from its pins and hung in tangled waves around her pale face. Her dress was torn and dirty, her face streaked with tears and dirt, but what struck him most was her eyes, wide, terrified, the green of them almost luminous with fear. "Easy now," Asher said, dismounting slowly. He kept his movements deliberate, non-threatening. "I'm not going to hurt you." She flinched anyway, pressing herself harder against the rock. Her whole body trembled. "My name is Asher Lockhart. I heard you scream. Are you hurt?" For a long moment she just stared at him. Then, her voice hoarse and small, she whispered, "They killed everyone. Everyone." Asher felt his stomach drop. "Who did? Where?" "The wagon train. We were on our way to California. They came out of nowhere, shooting, screaming. My father tried to fight them off, but they just..." Her voice broke. "I ran. I just ran. I did not even help him. I just ran and hid and listened to them die." He moved closer, slowly, and crouched down a few feet from her. Up close, he could see she was shaking so hard her teeth were chattering. "You did the right thing. Running kept you alive. How long ago was this?" "Yesterday morning. I've been hiding since then. I'm so scared. Every sound, every crack of a branch, I think they are coming back for me." "Can you walk? My cabin is about 2 hours from here. You will be safe there." She nodded, but when she tried to stand, her legs gave out. Asher caught her before she hit the ground, his strong arms supporting her easily. She weighed next to nothing. "When did you last eat?" he asked. "I do not remember. Before they came." He swung her up into his arms without effort, carrying her to his horse. She was too exhausted to protest. He settled her in the saddle and mounted behind her, wrapping one arm around her waist to keep her steady. She sagged against his broad chest, and he could feel how cold she was, even through his jacket. "What is your name?" he asked as they started back toward his cabin. Katherine Sinclair." "Well, Katherine, you are safe now. I promise you that." The ride back took longer than usual, because Asher took care to avoid rough terrain. Katherine drifted in and out of consciousness, but every time she started to slump too far, she would jerk awake with a gasp, her eyes wild. "Easy," he would murmur. "Still safe. Just me." By the time they reached his cabin, full dark had fallen. The small log structure sat in a protected valley, surrounded by towering pines. Smoke from the morning fire still lingered in the chimney. Asher dismounted and lifted Katherine down, then carried her inside. The cabin was simple but well built. One large room with a stone fireplace, a bed in one corner, a table and chairs, shelves lined with supplies. He set Katherine down in the chair nearest the fireplace and quickly got a fire going. The light and warmth seemed to revive her slightly. "I am going to tend to my horse," he said. "Then I will make you something to eat. Do not open this door for anyone but me, understand?" She nodded, her eyes following him as he left. Asher made quick work of unsaddling his horse and getting the animal settled in the small lean-to stable behind the cabin. His mind was racing. A wagon train massacre. That meant at least a dozen people, probably more, killed, and the men who did it might still be in the area. When he came back inside, Katherine had not moved. She sat rigid in the chair, staring at the fire. He noticed she was sitting perfectly upright, her spine not touching the back of the chair. He moved around the cabin, heating up the stew he had made 2 days ago, making coffee, gathering blankets. She accepted the bowl of stew with shaking hands and managed to eat about half before she set it aside. "You should get some rest," Asher said gently. "You can have the bed. I will sleep by the fire." "No," she said quickly, her voice rising in panic. "No, I cannot. I cannot lie down." He frowned. "Katherine, you are exhausted. You need to sleep." "You do not understand." Her eyes filled with tears again. "Yesterday, when they attacked, I was in the wagon sleeping, lying down. My mother was driving because Papa was sick with a fever. I was asleep when the shooting started. I woke up and there was blood everywhere and my mother was screaming and I could not move. I was trapped by the supplies that had fallen. By the time I got free, she was dead. Papa, too. If I'd been awake, if I had not been lying down, maybe I could have helped. Maybe they would still be alive." "That is not true," Asher said firmly. "There was nothing you could have done against armed men. You would just be dead too." "I cannot lie down," she repeated, her voice breaking. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them. My mother's face, the blood. I cannot do it." Asher studied her for a long moment. The firelight flickered across her face, highlighting the fear etched into every line. He understood trauma. He had seen enough of it in his own life, had fled to these mountains to escape his own demons. "All right," he said quietly. "Then you sit. But you need to rest somehow." He dragged the chair closer to the fire and brought her more blankets. She wrapped them around herself, still sitting perfectly upright. He could see the exhaustion pulling at her, the way her eyelids kept drooping, but every time she started to drift off, she would jerk awake with a gasp. "Try to sleep," he said. "I will keep watch." "You need to rest too," she protested weakly. "I will be fine. I am used to long nights." He settled himself on the floor near the fire, his rifle across his lap. "Nothing is going to get past me to hurt you. I swear it." Katherine looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. She saw the breadth of his shoulders, the strength in his arms, the capable hands that held the rifle like it was part of him. But more than that, she saw something in his dark eyes. Kindness. Understanding. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. "Because you need help. That is reason enough." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Thank you." As the night deepened, Katherine fought to stay awake, but her body betrayed her. Her head would drop forward, then she would jerk upright, her eyes flying open in panic. Each time, Asher would speak softly. "Still here, still watching. You are safe." Finally, near midnight, she fell into a restless sleep, still sitting rigidly upright in the chair. But even in sleep, she was not at peace. She whimpered and twitched, her hands clenching the blankets. Once she cried out, a sharp sound of terror, and Asher was on his feet in an instant. "Katherine," he said gently, touching her shoulder. "You're dreaming. Wake up." She gasped awake, her eyes unfocused. They were there, in the darkness. I could hear them laughing. It was just a dream. "Look around. You are in my cabin. The door is barred. The fire is lit. Nothing can hurt you here." She pressed her hands to her face, trying to stop the tears. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You must think I am crazy. I think you went through something terrible, and you are scared. That is not crazy. That is human." He hesitated, then added, "I lost people too, years ago. I know what it is like. That fear that will not leave you." She looked up at him. "Is that why you live out here alone?" "Part of it. Some wounds heal better in silence." "Does it get better? The fear?" He wanted to lie, to give her comfort, but he respected her too much for that. "It gets different. Some days are harder than others, but you learn to carry it, and you are not alone in carrying it, Katherine. Not anymore." Something in his words, in the quiet certainty of his voice, seemed to ease her. She leaned back in the chair just slightly, though still not relaxing. "Tell me about these mountains," she said. "Help me think about something else." So Asher talked. He told her about the elk herds that moved through the high meadows, about the way the aspens turned gold in October, about the crystal-clear lakes fed by snowmelt, about the brutal beauty of winter storms. His voice was deep and calm, and Katherine found herself lulled by it. She studied him as he spoke, this strange mountain man who had saved her life. He was handsome in a rough, untamed way. His face was weathered from years outdoors, his hands scarred from hard work. But there was a gentleness in how he moved around her, in how he kept his voice soft, and how he gave her space while still staying close enough to protect her. The firelight played across the muscles of his arms, visible where he had rolled up his sleeves. Everything about him spoke of strength, of capability. "You should rest too," she said eventually. "I feel terrible keeping you awake." "I will rest when the sun comes up. Right now, I'm exactly where I need to be." As the long night stretched on, Asher kept his word. He sat by the fire, his rifle ready, his eyes alert for any danger. Every hour he would get up and check outside, scanning the darkness for threats, then return to his post. And every time Katherine's sleep grew troubled, every time she whimpered or cried out, he would speak to her gently until she calmed. Near dawn, she woke fully and found him still there, still watching over her. Gray light was beginning to filter through the window. "You stayed awake all night," she said, her voice thick with sleep and emotion. "I said I would keep watch. I keep my word." "But why?" "You do not even know me." Asher was quiet for a moment, feeding another log into the fire. "Maybe because someone should have been keeping watch for you yesterday. Maybe because out here we take care of each other, or we do not survive. Or maybe just because looking at you, seeing how scared you are, it matters to me that you feel safe." Katherine felt tears prick her eyes again, but these were different. "I do not know what I would have done if you had not found me. You would have survived. You are stronger than you think." He stood, his tall frame unfolding with easy grace despite the long night. "I'm going to make breakfast. Then we need to decide what to do next." "What do you mean?" "That wagon train needs to be reported. The law in Montezuma needs to know. And you need to decide where you want to go." "California was your destination?" The thought of leaving the cabin, of going back out into the world, made Katherine's chest tighten with panic. I cannot go back out there." "Not today," Asher agreed. "Today you rest. But soon, Katherine. We have to face this." Over breakfast, simple but filling, Katherine found herself telling him about her life. How her parents had been farmers in Ohio, how they had sold everything to join the wagon train west, how excited they had all been for this new adventure. How her mother had laughed just the morning before the attack, saying they were finally going to have the life they had always dreamed of. Asher listened, really listened, his dark eyes steady on her face. When she cried, he handed her a handkerchief. When her voice broke, he waited patiently for her to continue. And when she finally finished, exhausted from the telling, he simply said, "They would be glad you survived. Parents always want their children to live." "How can you know that?" "Because I was a father once." The words came out rough, painful. "My wife and son died of fever 6 years ago. I was away trading furs, came home to find them both gone. And even in my grief, even in my anger at God and fate and everything else, I was grateful I had not been there to die with them. Because someone had to live to remember them, to carry their memory forward. Your parents would want the same for you." Katherine reached across the table and took his hand. His hand was huge, scarred, calloused against her soft palm. "I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago, but I understand your fear, Katherine. I truly do." As the days passed, a routine developed. Asher would hunt or check his traps, always leaving Katherine with his pistol and strict instructions to bar the door behind him. When he returned, she would have coffee ready, and they would talk. She told him about books she had read, about the small town where she had grown up, about her dreams of seeing the ocean someday. He told her about tracking animals, about surviving winters in the mountains, about the strange peace he had found in solitude. But still, Katherine could not lie down to sleep. Each night, she would sit in the chair by the fire, and each night, Asher would keep watch. He caught sleep during the day when she was awake, but she knew he was not getting enough rest. The shadows under his eyes darkened, and she saw him fighting yawns. "This cannot continue," she said on the 4th night. "You are exhausting yourself because of me. I am fine. You are not fine. You are barely sleeping." She twisted her hands in her lap. "I am a burden to you." "You are not a burden." His voice was firm. "Katherine, look at me." She met his eyes. "You went through something terrible. Your mind and body need time to heal. If sitting up to sleep is what you need right now, then that is what you will do. And if you need someone to keep watch, then I will keep watch. There is no burden in that. But for how long? I cannot stay here forever. Why not? The question surprised them both. Asher cleared his throat. What I mean is, there is no rush. Winter is coming, and these mountains are no place to travel once the snows start. Stay until spring. By then, maybe things will be easier. You want me to stay for months? Asher, you have been alone for years. You cannot want someone disrupting your life like this. He was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire. When he spoke, his voice was low. It has been a long time since this cabin felt like anything other than a place to sleep. This past week, with you here, with someone to talk to, someone to cook for, someone to care about keeping safe, it feels like a home again. So yes, Katherine, I want you to stay. If you want to, that is. Katherine felt something warm unfold in her chest, something that had nothing to do with the fire. I want to stay. His smile was small but genuine. Then it is settled. Over the following weeks, as September turned to October, things shifted between them. Asher taught Katherine how to shoot his rifle, standing behind her to steady her aim, his strong arms guiding hers. She taught him how to make proper biscuits, laughing at his first attempts, which came out hard as rocks. They fell into an easy companionship, comfortable with long silences, but also able to talk for hours. And every night, Katherine sat upright in her chair, and Asher kept watch. But he was sleeping more now, dozing in his own chair across from her, the rifle across his lap. She felt better knowing he was resting, even if he insisted on staying alert for danger. The truth was, she felt safe with him near. His presence had become as essential to her as breathing. One morning in late October, Katherine woke to find fresh snow covering the ground. She had fallen asleep sitting up as usual, but when she opened her eyes, she found a heavy quilt tucked around her and Asher asleep in his chair nearby. The fire had burned low, and the early morning light made everything soft and quiet. She studied him in the gray dawn. His face was relaxed in sleep, younger looking without the constant alertness he usually carried. His long hair fell across his forehead, and she had to resist the urge to brush it back. When had he become so dear to her? When had his smile started to make her heart race? When had she started looking for excuses to stand close to him, to touch his hand, to hear his laugh? As if sensing her gaze, Asher's eyes opened. For a moment, they just looked at each other across the dim cabin. "Morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Good morning. You were sleeping. You were sleeping too." He stretched, his powerful shoulders rolling back. "First time I have seen you look truly peaceful. I think I'm getting better. A little bit, anyway. You are. You are stronger every day." He stood and moved to build up the fire. "That snow means winter is really here now. We will need to make sure we have enough wood stacked." They spent the day working together, Asher splitting logs with powerful, efficient swings of his axe, while Katherine stacked them under the shelter of the cabin's overhang. She found herself watching him more than she should, admiring the play of muscles under his shirt, the easy strength with which he worked. Once he caught her staring and grinned. "See something interesting?" She felt her cheeks heat. "I was just thinking how different you are from the men I knew back in Ohio." "Different how?" "Stronger, more capable, more—" She trailed off, not sure how to finish. He set down the axe and walked over to her, stopping close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "More what?" "More everything," she whispered. Something shifted in his expression. He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. His fingers lingered against her cheek. "Katherine, I need to tell you something." "What?" "This past month and a half having you here, it has changed things for me. I thought I wanted to be alone forever. I thought I had used up my chance at caring about someone, at having someone care about me. But you changed that." His thumb traced her cheekbone gently. "I'm falling for you. Maybe I've already fallen. And I needed you to know. Even if it changes things, even if it makes you want to leave come spring." Katherine's breath caught. She reached up and covered his hand with hers, holding it against her face. "It does not make me want to leave. It makes me want to stay forever." "You mean that?" "I mean it. Asher, you saved my life, but more than that, you gave me a reason to want to live again. When I am with you, I do not feel so scared. You make me feel safe and cared for, and like maybe, despite everything terrible that has happened, there might still be good things ahead." He pulled her into his arms then, wrapping her in his strength and warmth. She pressed her face against his broad chest, breathing in the scent of pine and smoke and something uniquely him. His heart beat steady and strong beneath her ear. "I will always keep you safe," he murmured into her hair, "for as long as you want me." "Forever then," she said. "I want forever." When he kissed her, it was gentle, reverent, like she was something precious. Katherine had been kissed before, clumsy, stolen kisses from boys back home, but this was entirely different. This was a kiss between two people who had seen the worst of life and chose each other anyway. When they finally pulled apart, they were both smiling. That night, something changed. Katherine sat in her chair as usual, wrapped in blankets, but she found herself fighting sleep less. Asher sat nearby, watching over her, and she felt truly safe for the first time since the attack. "Asher," she said softly. "Yes? Would you hold my hand while I sleep?" He moved his chair closer and took her hand in his thumb rubbing gentle circles on her palm. "Always." She fell asleep, still sitting up, but with his hand in hers, and her dreams were peaceful. November brought heavier snows. The cabin became an island in a white sea. The world beyond shrunk down to just the two of them. They were snowed in for days at a time, but neither minded. Asher taught Katherine how to tan hides and repair snowshoes. She taught him card games her father had shown her, and they played by firelight, laughing when he accused her of cheating. Their relationship deepened. Kisses became more frequent, more passionate. Katherine found herself increasingly aware of him, of the way his muscles moved when he worked, of the heat of his body when he stood close, of the desire she saw in his eyes when he looked at her. She wanted him, wanted to be his in every way, but there was the matter of her inability to lie down. It came to a head one evening when they were sitting together on the floor by the fire. Asher had his arm around her, and she was nestled against his side, feeling content and safe. He kissed her temple, then her cheek, then found her lips. The kiss deepened, and Katherine felt heat pool in her belly. "I want you," she whispered against his mouth. "Asher, I want to be with you." "Are you sure?" His voice was strained. "Katherine, I want you too, more than I can say, but I do not want to rush you. You have been through so much. I'm sure. I need you. I need to feel alive, to feel something other than fear." She pulled back to look at him. "But I do not know if I can. The lying down, I mean. I still cannot." Asher cupped her face in his hands. "Then we do not lie down. Katherine, there are many ways for two people to be together. If you trust me, I will show you." She did trust him, completely. So when he guided her to straddle his lap as he sat against the wall, when he slowly unlaced her dress with reverent fingers, when he whispered how beautiful she was, how brave, how strong, she let herself sink into the feeling. He was gentle and patient, checking with her constantly, making sure she was comfortable, that she felt safe. And when they finally came together, it was with her sitting up in control, safe in his arms. Afterwards, she cried, but they were good tears, tears of release, of healing, of joy at finding pleasure and connection after so much pain. "Thank you," she whispered against his neck. "For what?" "For understanding, for being patient with me, for making me feel normal." "You are normal, Katherine. You are perfect." He held her close. "And you are mine now, if you will have me. I will have you. Forever." As winter deepened, they settled into domestic bliss. They were lovers now in every sense, finding creative ways to be intimate that accommodated Katherine's need to stay upright. Asher was endlessly patient and inventive, and Katherine bloomed under his attention and care. But she still could not lie down to sleep. She still sat upright in her chair each night, though now Asher would pull his chair close and hold her hand until she drifted off. He no longer stayed awake all night, but would check on her periodically, and she always woke to find him nearby. Christmas came, and they celebrated quietly. Asher had trapped a turkey, and Katherine made stuffing from bread she had learned to bake in the fireplace. He gave her a beautiful fur cloak he had made, and she gave him a shirt she had sewn from fabric he had stored away. They ate and laughed and made love by the firelight, and Katherine thought she had never been happier. "I wish my parents could have met you," she said as they sat together afterwards wrapped in blankets. "They would have loved you. I wish I could have met them too. They raised an incredible daughter." "Do you think they would be angry? That I'm happy after what happened?" "No," Asher said firmly. "They would want you to be happy. That is what parents want for their children, Katherine. Always." In January, a warm spell came and melted enough snow that Asher could make it to town. Katherine stayed behind, not yet ready to face other people, but she gave him a list of supplies she needed. He returned 2 days later with fabric, needles, coffee, sugar, and news. "The wagon train attack was reported," he told her as they unpacked. "Some other travelers found the site and told the law. They think it was the Garrett gang, notorious killers who have been working this area. There's a bounty on them now." Katherine felt her chest tighten. "Did they say anything about survivors?" "They do not know about you. The graves they found were marked, but they assumed everyone died." He paused. "I did not tell them about you. I thought you should decide how you want to handle it. I do not want anyone to know yet. Is that terrible? Should I report what happened?" "You can decide that when you are ready. There is no rush. The law knows about the gang. Your testimony might help, but it can wait until you are stronger." She hugged him tightly. "Thank you for understanding." As February turned the mountains into a frozen wonderland, Katherine felt herself healing. She laughed more easily now, smiled more readily. She still sat up to sleep, still could not bring herself to lie down, but she was no longer haunted by constant terror. Life had become good again. One night in late February, as they sat by the fire, Asher said, "Marry me." Katherine's head whipped around. "What?" "Marry me," he repeated. He took both her hands in his. "I know we have not known each other long, only about 5 months, but I have never been more certain of anything. I love you, Katherine. I want you to be my wife, to build a life with me here in these mountains, to wake up to your face every morning for the rest of my life. Marry me." "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, absolutely yes." He kissed her deeply, then pulled back with a grin. "I was prepared to give a whole speech about why you should say yes." "You had me at marry me," she laughed. "When?" "As soon as the pass clears enough to get a preacher up here, or we could go down to Montezuma, whatever you want." "Here," she decided. "I want to marry you here, in this cabin where you saved me, where you taught me to feel safe again." In March, when the snow started to melt, Asher made arrangements. He rode down to Montezuma and spoke with the circuit preacher, who agreed to make the trip in April. He also filed a claim on his land, making everything legal and official. And he bought Katherine a ring, simple gold but beautiful. "I have something to tell you," Katherine said one evening. "I think I might be with child." Asher's eyes widened. "Are you certain?" "Not completely, but fairly sure. My courses have not come for 2 months now, and I have been feeling strange in the mornings." He whooped and swept her up in his arms, spinning her around. "A baby! Katherine, we are going to have a baby!" She laughed at his excitement. "You are happy then?" "Happy? I am overjoyed. A family, Katherine. We are going to be a family." That night, as she sat in her chair preparing for sleep, Asher knelt beside her. "I've been thinking. About the baby, about the future, about everything. And I need to ask you something." "What is it? Are you happy? Truly happy? Living here with me, so isolated from everything?" Katherine touched his face. "I've never been happier in my life. You are all I need. Asher, you and this life we are building." "Good, because I cannot imagine my life without you now." The preacher came on a bright April morning, along with 2 miners from town to serve as witnesses. Katherine wore a dress she had sewn herself from blue fabric Asher had bought, and Asher wore his new shirt with clean trousers and his hair neatly tied back. They stood in front of the fireplace and pledged their lives to each other with the mountains as their witness. "I, Asher Lockhart, take you, Katherine Sinclair, to be my wife. I promise to love you, protect you, keep you safe, and stand by your side through whatever life brings us. I, Katherine Sinclair, take you, Asher Lockhart, to be my husband. I promise to love you, support you, trust you, and build a life with you full of joy and hope." When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Asher kissed Katherine with such tenderness that she felt tears stream down her face. They were tears of joy, of gratitude, of hope for the future. After the preacher and witnesses left, Asher carried Katherine over the threshold of their own cabin, making her laugh. "We already live here," she protested. "I know, but it is tradition. And now it is official. You are Katherine Lockhart, my wife." I like the sound of that. That night, as Katherine prepared for sleep, something felt different. She sat in her chair as usual, but she felt restless. Asher sat beside her, holding her hand. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I do not know. I feel strange, like something is different, but I cannot say what." "Are you feeling unwell? Is it the baby?" "No, nothing like that." She frowned, trying to identify the feeling. "I feel safe. More safe than I have since the attack, like something has settled into place." "That is good, is it not?" "It is. It is very good." She squeezed his hand. "Asher, I want to try something." "What?" "I want to try lying down, with you beside me. I think I might be ready." His eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "There is no rush, Katherine." "I am sure. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of letting what those men did control how I live. I am your wife now, carrying your child, building a life with you. I want to sleep beside my husband like a normal woman. You are a normal woman. You know what I mean." She stood, still holding his hand. "Help me. Stay with me. If I panic, you can talk me through it." Together, they walked to the bed. Katherine's heart was racing, her palms sweating. Every instinct screamed at her not to lie down, that terrible things happened when she lay down. But she trusted Asher, she trusted their love. She sat on the edge of the bed first, then slowly, so slowly, lay back. The moment her head hit the pillow, panic flooded through her. She could not breathe, could not think, images of blood and violence filling her mind. "I'm right here," Asher said, lying down beside her and pulling her into his arms. "You are safe. Feel my arms around you. Hear my heartbeat. Nothing is going to hurt you while I am here." Katherine pressed her face against his broad chest, focusing on the steady thump of his heart, on the strength of his arms around her, on the warmth of his body against hers. "Breathe with me," he murmured, "in and out. That is it. You are doing so well." Slowly, so slowly, the panic receded. She became aware of the softness of the bed, of how good it felt to stretch out after months of sleeping sitting up, of how right it felt to be cradled against Asher's powerful body. "How do you feel?" he asked after a few minutes. "Scared, but okay. Better than I expected." She tilted her head to look up at him. "Will you stay with me? All night?" "I'm not going anywhere. Ever." That night, for the first time since the wagon train attack, Katherine Lockhart lay down to sleep. She woke several times in panic, but each time Asher was there, holding her, soothing her with his voice and his presence. And each time she was able to fall back asleep a little easier. By morning, she was exhausted, but triumphant. "I did it," she said, smiling up at Asher. "I actually did it." "You did. I'm so proud of you." He kissed her forehead. "Though I have to say, I'm going to miss our routine. Sitting up all night, keeping watch over you. You kept watch for me for months, Asher. You gave me the time I needed to heal. That is love. Anything for you." May brought wildflowers to the high meadows, and Katherine bloomed along with them. Her pregnancy was progressing well, and though she still had moments of fear, still sometimes needed to sit up to feel safe, she was sleeping lying down most nights now. Always with Asher beside her, his strong arms around her, his presence a constant reassurance. One evening, as they sat outside the cabin watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple, Katherine said, "I want to go to Montezuma." Asher looked at her in surprise. "Are you sure?" "I am sure. I cannot hide forever, and I should report what happened to the wagon train, give my testimony about the attack. It might help catch the men who did it. I will be with you every step of the way." A week later, they rode down the mountain together. Katherine rode in front of Asher on his horse, his arms around her, and she found that she was not as frightened as she expected. The world seemed less threatening now, less dangerous. Montezuma was a small mining town, rough around the edges but growing. The sheriff, a weathered man named Henry McCabe, listened intently as Katherine described the attack. "I remember hearing about that wagon train," he said when she finished. "Terrible business. We have been hunting the Garrett gang for months now, but they are slippery. Your testimony might help, though. Can you describe any of them?" Katherine closed her eyes, forcing herself to remember. The leader was tall, had a scar across his cheek. He wore a gray hat with a red band. There were at least 6 others with him. They were laughing as they shot people. Laughing. Sheriff McCabe's jaw tightened. "That sounds like Jake Garrett, all right. He's a cold-blooded killer, but knowing he was there, that confirms some other reports we have had. We are closing in on him, Mrs. Lockhart. Your testimony will help bring him to justice." After they left the sheriff's office, Asher took Katherine to the general store and bought her supplies and a new dress. The storekeeper's wife, a kind woman named Martha, cooed over Katherine's pregnant belly. "When are you due?" she asked. "October, we think." "Your first?" "Yes." Katherine smiled, her hand on her stomach. "We are very excited." "Well, you come see me if you need anything. It can be hard up in those mountains, especially with a baby." As they rode back up to the cabin that evening, Katherine felt lighter than she had in months. She had faced her fears, reported the attack, and nothing terrible had happened. She was healing. Really, truly healing. Summer in the high country was glorious. The days were warm, the nights cool, and Katherine spent hours tending a small garden Asher helped her plant. Her belly swelled with their growing child, and Asher was increasingly protective, always worrying she was doing too much. "I am pregnant, not made of glass," she would laugh. "I know, but I cannot help wanting to take care of you. You do take care of me. You have from the moment you found me." In July, word came from town that the Garrett gang had been caught. All of them, including their leader, were to hang. Sheriff McCabe came up to the cabin personally to tell them. "I thought you would want to know," he said to Katherine. "You do not have to testify in person. Your written statement was enough. They will hang next month." Katherine felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you for telling me." After the sheriff left, she turned to Asher. "It is over, really over. They cannot hurt anyone else." "No, they cannot. You helped make sure of that." That night, Katherine slept deeply and dreamlessly, lying beside her husband, safe and loved. August brought preparations for the baby. Asher built a beautiful cradle from pine, sanding it smooth and carving small mountain designs into the wood. Katherine sewed tiny gowns and blankets, her heart full of anticipation. They talked for hours about names, about what kind of parents they wanted to be, about the life they would give their child. "Do you think I will be a good mother?" Katherine asked one evening, her hands on her large belly. "I think you will be an amazing mother. You are strong, Katherine. You survived something terrible and came out the other side. You will teach our child that same strength. And you will be an amazing father, patient, kind, protective." "I hope so. I was a father before, but Thomas was so young when he died. I did not get much time with him. This feels like a second chance." Katherine took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "Feel that? The baby is kicking. Your child, Asher. Our child. Our second chance." He felt the flutter of movement under his palm, and his eyes filled with tears. "Our second chance," he repeated. September brought the first hints of autumn, the aspens beginning to turn gold. Katherine was huge now, uncomfortable but glowing with health. Asher barely let her do anything, insisting on doing all the heavy work himself. "The baby will come soon," Katherine said one evening. "I can feel it." "Are you frightened?" "A little, but mostly excited. I want to meet our child." "I want that too." He knelt beside her chair and rested his head against her belly. "I love you both so much." On a crisp October morning, Katherine's labor began. Asher rode down to town to fetch Martha, the storekeeper's wife, who had agreed to help with the birth. The labor was long and difficult, lasting through the day and into the night. But Katherine was strong. She thought about everything she had survived, about how far she had come, and she drew on that strength. Just before dawn, with Martha coaching her and Asher holding her hand, Katherine gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The moment she heard his first cry, strong and loud, she began to weep. "You did it," Asher said, his own face wet with tears. "Katherine, you did it. We have a son." Martha cleaned the baby and placed him in Catherine's arms. He was perfect, with a shock of dark hair and his father's eyes already squinting up at her. "Hello, little one," Katherine whispered. "Hello, Aaron. I'm your mama." They had decided on the name weeks ago, Aaron Thomas Lockhart, honoring Asher's lost son while giving their baby his own identity. Asher sat on the bed beside Katherine, his arm around her shoulders, staring in wonder at his son. "He is perfect. Absolutely perfect." "He looks like you," Katherine said. "He has your nose." They laughed together, exhausted and elated and full of love. Martha stayed for 2 days to help Katherine recover, teaching her how to nurse and care for the baby. Then she headed back to town, leaving the new family alone. Those first weeks were hard, as all new parents discover. Aaron was a fussy baby, crying often, sleeping little. Katherine was exhausted, her body healing, her emotions raw. But Asher was there every step of the way. He walked the floor with Aaron at night, bouncing and singing to him in his deep voice. He changed diapers and heated water and made sure Katherine ate and rested. "I could not do this without you," Katherine said one night as she nursed Aaron while Asher sat beside her. "You could. You're strong enough to do anything, but you do not have to. We are a family. We do this together." As Aaron grew, becoming less fussy and more alert, life settled into a new routine. Katherine discovered that motherhood suited her. She loved every moment with her son, even the hard ones. And watching Asher with Aaron was a joy. He was so gentle with the baby, so patient, his big hands careful and sure. Winter came again, but this time the cabin was full of life and love. Aaron grew, hitting all his milestones. He smiled for the first time in December, laughed for the first time in January. Katherine and Asher marveled at every tiny accomplishment. On a snowy February evening, almost exactly a year after Asher had proposed, they sat together by the fire. Aaron was asleep in his cradle, and they were enjoying a rare, quiet moment. "Do you remember this time last year?" Katherine asked. "I do. I was working up the courage to ask you to marry me. I would have said yes even sooner if you had asked." "I know. I was an idiot to wait." He pulled her closer. "Are you happy, Katherine?" "Truly. I'm happier than I ever imagined I could be. A year and a half ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I would never feel safe again, never laugh again, never love again. And now, look at us. A family. A real family. You saved me too, you know. I was just existing up here, not really living. You brought me back to life." Katherine tilted her face up to kiss him. "We saved each other then." As the years passed, their life together continued to be full and rich. Aaron grew into a strong, happy boy with his father's strength and his mother's courage. Katherine never forgot what had happened to her family, but the pain dulled to a distant ache rather than a constant wound. She had learned to live with her trauma, to acknowledge it without letting it control her. She could lie down to sleep every night now, though she still sometimes needed Asher's arms around her to feel fully safe. She never took that safety for granted, never forgot how precious it was. When Aaron was 3, Katherine gave birth to a daughter, Emma. 2 years after that came another son, Daniel. The cabin grew more crowded but also more joyful. Asher built additions, expanding their home to accommodate their growing family. He taught his sons to hunt and track, to respect the mountains and understand their dangers. He taught Emma to be strong and capable, to never let anyone make her feel less than. And Katherine taught all of them to read and write, to think and question, to be kind and brave. On summer evenings, the whole family would sit outside and watch the sunset. Asher would hold Katherine's hand and think about that September day 8 years ago when he had heard her scream in the forest. How lost she had been, how broken, and how she had healed, not by forgetting what happened, but by refusing to let it define her. "What are you thinking about?" Katherine asked one such evening. "About how lucky I am, about how you are the strongest person I have ever known. I am only strong because you gave me a safe place to heal." We made each other strong then. Their children played nearby, Aaron showing his younger siblings how to skip stones in the creek. It was a peaceful scene, full of love and life. "Do you ever regret it?" Asher asked. "Staying here, living so far from civilization?" "Never. This is where I belong, with you, with our children, in these mountains. This is home. And it was. Their cabin in the high country, surrounded by towering pines and snow-capped peaks, was more than just a shelter. It was a testament to survival, to healing, to love that could bloom even in the aftermath of terrible tragedy. Katherine never forgot her parents, never forgot the wagon train and all the people who had died. She told her children about them, about their grandmother and grandfather who had dreamed of California, about the pioneers who had been brave enough to seek new lives in the West. She made sure they understood that their lives, their very existence, was built on tragedy, but also on hope. And every year on the anniversary of the attack, Katherine and Asher would ride to a high meadow where you could see for miles. They would stand together in silence, holding hands, remembering, honoring those who had died, grateful for the life they had built from the ashes of that terrible day. "I kept watch for you," Asher said one such anniversary, the 9th year. "That first night, and so many nights after. I would do it again. I would do it forever. I know you would. That is who you are. That is why I love you. I love you too, Katherine, always." They stood there as the sun set, painting the mountains in shades of gold and rose, and Katherine thought about how far she had come. From that terrified young woman who could not lie down to sleep, who jumped at every sound, who thought she might never feel safe again, to this, a woman standing on a mountain with the man she loved, mother to 3 beautiful children, at peace with her past and excited for her future. The journey had been long and hard, but it had been worth it. Every moment of fear, every nightmare, every difficult night had led her here, to this moment, to this life, to this love. As they rode back down to the cabin, Katherine knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The mountains had given her refuge when she needed it most. Asher had given her safety and love and a reason to keep living. And together, they had built something beautiful and lasting. That night, as Katherine lay down to sleep in the bed she shared with her husband, his strong arms wrapped around her, she felt nothing but peace. The fear that had once ruled her life was gone, replaced by love and trust and the knowledge that she was exactly where she belonged. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness. "For what?" Asher murmured, already half asleep. "For finding me, for keeping watch, for loving me, for everything." He pulled her closer, his lips brushing her temple. "Thank you for letting me. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for building this life with me." "Always," Katherine promised, "always and forever." And as she drifted off to sleep, safe in her husband's embrace, surrounded by the sounds of her children sleeping nearby, Katherine Lockhart smiled. She had survived the worst day of her life. She had faced her fears and overcome them. She had found love in the most unexpected place and with the most unexpected person. The mountain man who had found her sleeping sitting up, too scared to lie down, had kept watch all night. And then he had kept watching, kept protecting, kept loving her every day since. He had given her the time and space she needed to heal, never pushing, never demanding, always understanding. Their love story had begun in tragedy and terror, but it had grown into something beautiful and strong. It had weathered storms and celebrated joys. It had created new life and new hope. As the years continued to pass, their love only deepened. Aaron grew to be a man much like his father, strong and capable and kind. He married a girl from Montezuma and gave Katherine and Asher their first grandchildren. Emma grew up fierce and independent, eventually becoming a teacher in a growing town further down the valley. Daniel followed in his father's footsteps, choosing life in the mountains over the growing settlements. Katherine and Asher grew old together, their hair turning gray, their faces weathering with time, but their love never diminished. Every day, Asher still found ways to make Katherine feel safe and cherished. Every night, Katherine still fell asleep in his arms, grateful for every moment they had together. On their 25th wedding anniversary, their children and grandchildren gathered at the cabin to celebrate. The place was bursting with noise and laughter, with games and stories and love. As the sun set that evening, Asher pulled Katherine aside, away from the crowd. "Come with me," he said, taking her hand. He led her to the clearing where he had first found her all those years ago. It looked much the same, though the forest had grown and changed. They stood together in the fading light. "Do you remember?" he asked. "How could I forget? This is where my life changed, where you saved me." "No, Katherine, this is where you saved yourself. I just kept watch." She turned to face him, taking both his hands in hers. "You did more than keep watch. You gave me hope. You gave me love. You gave me a reason to want to heal, to want to live. And you gave me the same. I was dead inside before you came into my life, Katherine, just going through the motions. You brought me back to life. You taught me it was possible to love again, to hope again, to build a family again." They kissed as the last light faded from the sky. Two people who had found each other in the darkest of times and built something bright and lasting. When they returned to the cabin, their family was waiting with a cake Katherine's daughter had baked. They sang and celebrated late into the night, and Katherine looked around at all the faces she loved and felt her heart overflow with gratitude. This was the life she had been given, not the one she had planned when she set out on that wagon train so many years ago. That life had ended in blood and terror and loss. But from those ashes, this new life had grown, better than anything she could have imagined. As the years advanced further and their bodies grew weaker, Asher and Katherine remained devoted to each other. When Asher's knees began to trouble him and he could no longer make the long hunts into the high country, Katherine was there to support him, just as he had supported her. When Katherine's hands grew arthritic and she struggled with tasks she had once done easily, Asher was there to help, his love and patience never wavering. They were in their 60s when Asher fell ill with pneumonia one harsh winter. For days, Katherine nursed him, sitting by his bedside, holding his hand, keeping watch over him just as he had once kept watch over her. Their children came to help, but it was Katherine's love and determination that pulled him through. "You are not leaving me," she said fiercely one night when his fever was at its worst. "I need you, Asher Lockhart. Our grandchildren need you. You do not get to give up now." And he did not. He fought his way back to health, weak and diminished, but alive. As he recovered, Katherine rarely left his side. "I kept watch," she said with a small smile one day. "You did, just like I kept watch for you all those years ago. We take care of each other. That is what love is. That's exactly what love is." They lived to see their children have children who had children of their own. The small cabin in the mountains became the heart of a large, loving family. Generations of Lockharts grew up hearing the story of how their grandparents had met, how Asher had found Katherine in the forest, terrified and traumatized, and how he had kept watch over her all night, how their love had grown slowly and surely, built on trust and understanding and genuine care. The story became family legend, told and retold, a testament to the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Katherine was 73 when she passed away peacefully in her sleep, lying down as she had learned to do so many years ago, held safe in Asher's arms as she had been for 5 decades. Asher followed her just 6 months later, his body giving out but his heart already gone, buried with the woman he had loved more than life itself. They were buried together in the high meadow they had loved, the place where they had gone every year to remember and to be grateful. Their grave overlooked the valley, the mountains rising around them in eternal sentinel. On their shared headstone, their children carved a simple inscription: Asher Lockhart, 1844-1928, Katherine Lockhart, 1859-1932. He kept watch. She found peace. Together, they found love. The cabin still stands, maintained by their descendants, a monument to a love that began in darkness and grew into light. The story of the mountain man who found the terrified young woman and kept watch over her all night, who gave her the time and space to heal, who loved her through her trauma and beyond it, is still told. It is a reminder that love can bloom in the most unlikely places, that healing is possible even after terrible tragedy, that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply being present, keeping watch, giving someone the safety they need to find their way back to themselves. Katherine's journey from that terrified girl who could not lie down to sleep to the strong, confident woman who built a beautiful life in the mountains was not easy. It was filled with setbacks and struggles, with moments of fear and doubt. But she made that journey. She healed, she thrived, and she did it not alone, but with a partner who understood that love is not just passion and romance. Love is also patience and vigilance and unwavering support. Love is keeping watch through the long night. Love is being there when someone needs you most, asking nothing in return except the chance to care. Asher Lockhart was not a perfect man. He had his flaws and his struggles, his own trauma and pain. But he was the right man for Katherine. He gave her exactly what she needed when she needed it most, and in return, she gave him a reason to live again, to love again, to hope again. Their story is one of healing and hope, of trauma overcome and love triumphant. It is a story that resonates through the generations, reminding each new Lockhart that they come from strong stock, from people who survived and thrived, who loved deeply and well. The mountains still stand, eternal and unchanging. The cabin still shelters those who need it. And somewhere in the wind that whispers through the pines, you can almost hear Asher's deep voice murmuring comfort, Katherine's soft laugh in response, the echoes of a love that changed two lives and created a legacy that will endure for generations to come. This is their story. The mountain man and the woman he found in the forest, the man who kept watch and the woman who learned to trust again, the love that grew in the high country of Colorado, strong and true and lasting. A love built on understanding, patience, and the simple but profound act of being there when it mattered most. And in the end, is that not what we all seek? Someone who will keep watch over us in our darkest hours. Someone who will give us the time and space we need to heal. Someone who will love us not despite our trauma but through it, helping us find our way back to ourselves. Asher and Katherine found that in each other. And in finding it, they built something rare and precious, a love story for the ages, a testament to the power of human connection to heal even the deepest wounds. A reminder that sometimes the greatest adventure is not in the journey to a new place, but in the journey back to yourself, with someone walking beside you every step of the way. Their story ended peacefully, as all good stories should, with two people who had lived long and loved well, surrounded by family and legacy, their hearts full of gratitude for every moment they had shared. They had taken the terrible hand life dealt them and turned it into something beautiful. They had faced their fears and overcome them. They had built a life worth living, a love worth celebrating, a legacy worth remembering. And that, in the end, is all any of us can hope for. To love and be loved. To heal and help others heal. To build something that lasts beyond our own brief time on this earth. Asher and Katherine did that. Their love story, which began with him keeping watch over her sleeping form on a September night in 1879, endured for 53 years and continues to resonate through their descendants to this day. The mountain man found her sleeping sitting up, too scared to lie down. He kept watch all night. And in that simple act of compassion and protection, he started something that would change both their lives forever. A love story, a healing story, a story of hope triumphant over fear, of love conquering trauma, of two broken people finding wholeness in each other. Their story is complete now, their lives lived fully and well. But the love they shared, the legacy they built, the family they created, continues on. The mountains remember them, the cabin shelters their memory, and their descendants carry forward the lessons they taught, that love heals, that patience matters, that sometimes the greatest strength is simply being present for someone who needs you. This is the story of Asher and Katherine Lockhart, mountain man and pioneer woman, protector and survivor, husband and wife, partners in every sense of the word. Their love began in tragedy but grew into triumph. And that love, built on trust and nurtured by patience, proved stronger than fear, deeper than trauma, more lasting than the mountains themselves.